collaborative. And really today, the goal is to be here to support you, walk you through the data reporting form, which many of you are already familiar with, but just wanted to highlight any updates that we've made, and just what the expectations are. And just really want to highlight how important it is to uh, fill this out and want to thank all of you for providing this data, for providing all of your thoughtful feedback. If you participated in our convenings, our partners really have been truly excited to review the data, looking at it across the region, having really meaningful conversations about the data. So we're really excited, and just want to thank you again for the role that you play in all of this. So I'll walk us through the form. We'll have a question session if there's any questions that you all may have. I will post the office hours schedule and then any next steps for this session. So here, just wanted to highlight the due date. So it'll be later this month, January 23rd. So you should have all received your form from my colleague Lisa. And if you have not, please send her a direct message. She is on this call. So want to take the opportunity to do that. So if you want to open up your form and walk through it, that I think is super helpful. But here also want to highlight that when you are completed with your survey, to just select that it's completed, that is linked to a master sheet that lets us know that you are already done and we could review your responses and see if we have any follow-up questions. Another key thing that's really great about using Google Sheets is if you have any questions as you're filling things out, you can always email me, but you can also tag me in certain cells. And as some of you have seen, I respond in a comment. So that is also helpful. And just so you all know, please do not add rows or columns to the sheet because it's linked to a master sheet. So that kind of messes things up for us. So just wanted to note that for all of you. Okay, so our first tab, it looks pretty familiar probably to all of you who have filled this out before. But essentially, you're just reviewing your responses here to see if there are any updates. So for example, is all of the information on this sheet correct? Do you have any updates, for example, to the contact person who we should be reaching out to about this form? And importantly, so if you defined your pathway by using specific zip codes or top codes, really reviewing those and ensuring that those are still the ones that are really relevant to your project and where you have really focused efforts as part of your project. Also wanted to note here, there's a space at the bottom to some of you included specific courses that may be in other programs or other top codes. So just ensuring that you include those course names just so that we know exactly what courses were included as part of the definition for the pathway. And this is really important because this is what you use to gather that enrollment data. That's what you're using to understand how we calculate pass rates. And so want to make sure that we have accurate information in terms of that. Now, if there are no changes, then you would just check that box at the top of the page. And then if there are updates, you would just let us know and then we can review and see what has been updated. In terms of pathway enrollment, so this looks similar to if you filled it out last time. But one of the key questions to ask here is, was all of your 2024-2025 data completed? If not, then please update those numbers. And also, if the way that you defined the pathway has changed, so for example, we're meeting with some of you and just ensuring that some of the codes that you're using are relevant to your projects. So if that changed, making sure that these are updated to reflect that. But if it stayed the same, that is completely fine. And just noting if any data is missing. So for example, perhaps you didn't get a chance to do your enrollment counts for the 2023-2024 academic year. Just ensuring that your data looks good, it looks complete. This is kind of our opportunity to just review everything, make sure everything looks good as you're looking at everything. In terms of student outcomes, so here ensuring that you're indicating the major and from those students who transferred to a four-year. So there's a part here that's a little bit below on this page, but it should be enrolled in the major. Okay, I think this is for the 4 years. Yeah, so you specify the major and then indicate the number of students that are enrolled in that major. Again, if there are no changes to these pages, you would just select that. But if there are any specific updates or clarifying details that you want to include, please add those. Even if they're notes for yourself, it's kind of helpful next time you look at your data to know exactly how it is that you filtered it, so that we can continue and keep the same methodology. And if you have any questions, feel free to add them in in the chat as well. Okay, so what we just went over probably looked familiar. So this is a new page for our community colleges specifically. So here we are focusing on dual enrollment courses. So based on what we discussed in our data work group, we're really interested in specifically CCAP courses and articulated courses. And so, based on uh, we all talked about dual enrollment courses and kind of how those have been defined in the past. So, we changed things up a bit based on that feedback. And so, here there are two ways that we want to capture these courses. So, one is just institution wide. You're still focusing on courses that are relevant to the pathway, but not necessarily that were part of the collaborative activities. And part of the reason we wanted to capture that is that there may be institutions, and this came up, that already had dual enrollment courses that were existing, but since they weren't part of what they were including as part of their project in the collaborative, they weren't counting them. So we want to make sure that we have a way to kind of capture how many courses are available to students at the institution, and then how many courses are you focusing on as part of your work that's either directly or indirectly supported by the collaborative. So this can mean either directly through funding or just in terms of the activities with your partners, part of conversations that had led to the creation or planning of dual enrollment courses. Below that, we're just asking you to specify who your institutional partners are. I know some of you have a few different partners, and then also listing the course names. There was an interest as part for the collaborative to really understand what are the specific courses that are being planned, and so we wanted to capture that information as well. Okay, so this is a new part. Are there any questions? Okay, I will continue on. Okay, so we talked about the number of courses. So this is looking at the number of students enrolled in those courses. So again, these are only going to be the CCAP courses. And for example, in this example, they didn't have an existing course. And so that was a course that they were planning for 2025, 2026. And so they don't have any, they just report zeros for those previous years and then have targets for the future academic years. And it's always helpful to just add some context or information in the notes. So yeah, these are going to be only CCAP dual enrollment with that were supported by the collaborative. Okay, so in terms of work-based learning, the only update here is just any work-based learning opportunities that they offered. Here it says cycle 3, but really we just mean cycle 3 of data reporting. So we've tried to remove some of that language and we'll fix some of that. But what this means is just through the last reporting period, which was between July 2025 and December 2025. What were any work-based learning opportunities that you provided or offered, and then some details about those opportunities. And then below that is just information about the number of students that participated. Now, if this section was completed in the last data report, you don't need to fill this out until the completion of the academic year. So you can leave this part alone if you already reported those numbers for the previous years. Okay, so the other new section of our data report is something you all worked on in our last convening, but our recovery with equity strategies. So we provided a link in all of your Google Sheets to these strategies if you need a refresher. But really, here, each of these are related to a specific outcome. So you could see here in the green, we specified the outcome. So this was what you filled out in your application when you submitted for the grant. So in this red circle or in this red square here, these are the activities that you included as part of your application. And then these are the recovery with equity strategies that you selected. Now, I just want to make clear that we just included these for all of you as a reference. We wanted you all to have something to work on, to work from, to remind you of what was written. It may be that some of this has changed, and that is completely fine. It may be the recovery with equity strategy has changed, and that is completely fine. It's not meant to trip you up or anything like that. So below that is where you're going to actually write what it is that you are working on. So here you would add activities. So what are actually being planned under this specific outcome, or what are being implemented. And here you're really focusing on how your institution, what your institution is planning, your institution's role. And here you could see that there are spaces for more than one activity, and that doesn't mean that you have to fill all those spaces. It just means that perhaps one activity had one equity to recovery with equity strategy versus another. And so that's just differentiating them and giving space for additional activities. You don't have to fill out every single one. So you would write your activity, your recovery with equity strategy, selecting your progress, and then just writing a bit about the activity that you've either been planning or implementing. But a key question of how is equity being intentionally considered in the design or implementation of this activity? Just providing some examples of who is this activity intended for, how access or participation is being expanded or targeted, and things like that. So yeah, just providing us additional context. And also, as you're looking at your sheet, you may notice that some rows are hidden. That just means that there may be an outcome there that was related to, uh, let's say, our K-12 partners. And so we just hid those for you since those wouldn't be relevant to your institutions. Okay, any questions about this new part? Okay. Yeah, you're just writing your activity, recovery with equity strategy, progress, and then how equity is being considered. The last part is just including our quarterly narrative report as part of the data reporting as well. So reporting on how many meetings you've had with your partners, how you've collaborated with them, and also how you have worked as a collaborative team to engage industry partners. We also would love to hear about any major accomplishments, what you're most proud of. We love reading that section, but also any challenges that you've encountered, and really with a focus on this reporting period. And so just some tips, making sure that you plan ahead and contact your institutional research offices as soon as possible. Let them know that this is, if you need to fill out additional data, that this is on their radar. Also, if you have any questions, to please reach out to myself or Lisa, and we can definitely support you. We also have office hours, which I include here, but they're also embedded in your template. So the Zoom is also in your template, so easily accessible. And this is our contact information. So I will leave that up for a second. But that is really it. Any questions?
Just one, I may have missed this. Can you share the link to this presentation with us? I have the form, but yeah,
Yes, absolutely. So we'll send the presentation and also the recording after the session.
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if I missed this in the beginning, but when can we expect the link to the report?
So you should have received it. So if you didn't receive it, that probably means we might have sent it to the wrong person. So Lisa's email, or if you want to send us a message right now, we can definitely make sure that we can get that to you. Anyone else? Any questions? Uh, All right. Well, thank you all for being here. Um, like I said, I'm happy. I'll stay on the line if anyone has any follow-up questions, but just want to thank you all so much and definitely feel free to reach out if you need any support. And that's it. Have some time back. Thank you.